Hello everyone, it's time for another video. In this video I'm going to talk about 5 common mistakes beginner anime artists make. So please keep in mind that these mistakes does not apply to all beginners, and some of them is just my opinions, but they should apply to most beginners in general. So let's get started. The first mistake is just some simple mistakes as wrong concepts about the faces of anime characters. The first one is too large. Okay, I'm gonna write it down. Too large eyes. I've seen, let me zoom in a bit. I have seen a lot of beginners draw a face, and then they just draw extremely large eyes, something like this. And some of you might want to say that it's just a style because animes do have larger eyes, and some animes have these extremely large eyes. But what I think about that is that it takes a lot of practice to draw something that unnatural and still look beautiful. Since you're a beginner, you want to stick with the natural, because these kind of large eyes are really unnatural, and it's really hard to draw unnatural things beautifully. And another mistake is too small mouth. Well, this is not that big of a problem because a lot of anime have small mouth, but it's still unnatural to draw something this small, and I've seen a lot of people do it. And when you are drawing a mouth this small, it looks like it's making an expression, but a lot of beginners want to draw they just want to draw a simple face, not making any expressions, but they still draw something so small, so that's why it just looks so strange. Now it's smiling, but it does not really look like it's smiling because it has such a small mouth. And also, of course, the nose. Some beginners draw the wrong type of nose. This nose is very common, but this nose is nowhere to be found in animes. This one is just wrong because your nose is not pointing to the sides, it's pointing directly. It's pointing directly at the camera. So therefore, you might want to draw the nose like this. Of course, there are many ways to draw noses. Like, you can draw it like this, maybe. And maybe even this, or just one line, or just 2 dots, or just no nose at all. But really, don't use this. And also, if it's just looking a little bit to the side, don't draw it like that. If the character is looking a little bit to the side, then just draw a little bit. A little bending there. And of course, the chin. This one is made by a lot of beginners. Is that when they are drawing the side view of a character. The side view. Okay, I think I will have to draw it a little bit bigger so that you guys can see it. The side view of a character. They draw the chin wrong, in the wrong place. Some of them draw the chin too much into the face, so it does not look like, because a person's chin is a little bit out, it's not in the center of the head. But some beginners do draw it like it's in the front, like the character is looking at the camera, but at the same time it's looking in another direction, then it just feels wrong. You know, if the chin is here, then it looks like, you know, it doesn't look like anything. And of course, some beginners draw the chin too much. This is a little bit exaggerated, but some beginners draw the chin too you know, sticking out, and it's not natural. So my tips for you to improve on drawing the chin is to, you know, the ordinary sketch for the head is a circle, and then you just simply from here you draw a bent line down there. Then from around where the chin is, you just draw a bent line up there, and then this one will look good. Just believe me, it's just like that, and just one line for the eyes, and there you got a nice chin. Okay, so this was the first mistake. Now let's get on some real mistakes. This thing is just some simple mistakes, it's just the precise mistakes, but now I'm going to talk about some some concepts. Is that the beginners, they often forget to draw the characters and the sketches in 3D. I don't know why, but they just seem to forget it. For example, when drawing the torso of a character, the head, you know, and then the head, but they just kind of draw it in a 2D way, and that will feel wrong. So it's a little bit hard to explain, but you know, you always want the sketches to be in 3D. So in this case, I know that the neck hair is connected a little bit, so like this. So every connection between the bones and joints and the parts of the body, you want to have the bent line to indicate how the geometry is. For example, in the shoulder, you want to have this bent line here to indicate that this thing is covering, the arm is covering the torso. Then here you want to have the bent line there because the perspective is from above. Same goes with here, the bent line. And also another tip is to draw the lines to indicate which way the 3D object, in this case the torso, is facing. So you want to draw a line there. Then bent line, and also remember bent lines. Bent lines makes it 3D. This one should be bent too. And then there, and it should be bent again. You know, you just have to, everything needs to be in 3D in a sketch. Like here, actually I could have drawn the thing underneath the head, but you know, I don't do that. Also, a line here for where the side of the face is, it makes it more 3D. You just have to draw the lines for how the 3D is looking like. You know, just remember that 3D makes all sketches much better. Okay, so that's another mistake, and now let's go into the third mistake, is that the strokes. A lot of beginners, they draw with either too hard or too soft strokes. For example, you know, a lot of beginners always want to draw like the face, they just draw it with the hardest line they can, hardest strokes, you know, and then the eyes, and then I find out, oh, this one is not looking good and I want to erase it, and it does not work. It worked there, but if I were to draw it much more harder, then I can't erase it. No, it's very hard to erase it, and it makes it much more uglier. But the problem is now that if you draw the strokes too soft, another problem occurs. Is that if you draw too soft, too slowly, you know, your hand will vibrate and the strokes will not look that good. I've seen some beginners always want to draw as soft as possible, as slowly as possible, but then it looks like there's no power in strokes. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just it makes it's a little bit worse. Of course, if you draw it with hard strokes, it's much worse because you can't erase it. And it's actually possible to draw with really soft strokes and still make a beautiful drawing, but I don't recommend you to do that because, you know, harder strokes are more beautiful. They are more straight, they are more power, and they're also clearer. And also, you know, softer stroke, if you draw it like vibrating, then you might draw it over and over again and it becomes thick, and you know, it's just all the problem. But this one looked good, so well, yeah, that's just the third mistake. Now let's go on to the fourth mistake, which is the sketching. Beginners have problem with sketching. I have seen a lot of them trying to draw without sketch, which is a terrible idea. You know, even experts uses sketch. Everybody who draw needs sketch. Maybe not absolutely everybody, but almost everybody. Like this one, I have to sketch. If I were to draw a face without sketching, then I need to just kind of draw the eyes first, and then the mouth, and then I might later find out that shit, the proportion is not looking good. The proportion, you know, sketches make your drawings have a much better proportion. A lot of beginners struggle with drawing the full body in a beautiful way because they always just draw the head. They draw it downwards and to the bottom, and then they find out everything is wrong. And the reason to that is because you have to sketch, and you have to sketch according to your level. What I mean by that is that if you can't sketch with a good head to height proportion, then before you sketch you should calculate the height of the character, and then calculate the size of the head, and then divide it by 2 and to find the length of the legs, you know. And also the wrong use of sketch is that some beginners, some people use some sketches like this, the rounded, the line down there, then they just draw it like that, and the hand, you know, this sketch is very popular on the internet. That's because this one can be good. This one will represent the body really good, but I don't think this sketch is a good idea for beginners to try, because in order to use this sketch and make a beautiful drawing out of it, you have to know the proportion of a body really well, and most beginners don't do that. So, and also this sketch does not represent the body really well, because this one does not look like a body. This one doesn't, you don't see something like this in real life, so you can't think of an image in your head while drawing this, and you know, follow the image of your head to make a good proportions. Therefore, I think if you are making a sketch, you want your sketch to look like a real body as much as possible, and at the same time it should be simple. Therefore, I recommend you guys to use the normal boxes, because boxes, it will make your character look much more like a character. So this one have a pretty strange proportion now. This one is too thin, but okay, let's make this character a girl. This is the pelvis. So instead of the bones, you want to draw it with rectangles to make it look much more like a real human. And just look at this. Look at this. Now this one looks much more like a human, and it's much more easier to see if there is anything wrong with that. Like, I just drew the bones, you know, and the bones, it looked quite good, right? But while drawing these geometries, I found out that the hips were too low in the bones, but you didn't see that when they were just the bones, and that is a real problem, because that means I have just drawn a character with wrong proportion without knowing it. But now with geometries I can see it, and also I can also see that the hands is a little bit too short in the bones, so I have to increase the length a little bit, and then the hand, and of course the head. So that's how you should sketch a body. Okay, that was the fourth mistake. And the last mistake is that beginners spend too much time drawing one drawing. What I mean by that is that when they have done sketching and done all the simple drawings, they spend too much time drawing the details, and it's not really a bad thing, because it's good to complete the work. But if you want to really learn how to draw, you might want to sacrifice you might want to not complete the work in order to learn more, because you know, when you have drawn something, instead of using the time to draw the details of it, you want to, if you draw it again, like if you draw a copy of it, then you will learn more out of drawing the copy of it than adding the details on it. And you might say, well, I learn by adding details, but yes, you do that, but what you learn is that you learn to add details, and adding details is not really that hard. Anybody can do that. It's a really simple thing. So you will want to focus on the hardest thing, which is to draw the good proportions and, you know, good feelings, and those things takes a lot of practice. So when you have drawn this thing, for example, you have spent like 1 minute to draw the sketch of a face, then instead of drawing the details, you might want to draw it again in shorter time, like in half minute and maybe in 10 seconds. So the next time you draw it, you can use the same time. No, you can draw the same drawing in a much shorter time. In this case, if you draw this in 10 seconds, you can draw the same thing 6 times. You know, and also time is a really big problem for artists, especially for drawers like manga drawers, because you know, they don't have that much time to draw every single image, and there are so many pictures they have to draw. So you know, if you have read manga, you see that a lot of time they just kind of skip the details and they just try to draw the things as fast as well. Look at this, I even skipped to sketch the line for the eyes, and then I'm gonna do this. Now this one looks a little bit bad. And yes, I just have to draw it as fast as possible. But of course, if you enjoy the process of drawing, then and don't really stress with learning how to draw, then maybe you should just spend your time adding the details slowly in order to enjoy your beautiful work. But if you are into drawing and want to draw much more beautiful than the last time you have drawn, then I definitely recommend you to learn to draw faster than what you usually do. And that was it, my 5 most common mistakes beginners make in my opinion. And thank you for watching. Yeah, see you guys next time. Goodbye.